Welcome to the special edition of the B. Andrews Radio Show. We're calling this our post-wedding edition. So thank you for being here. The show is ever evolving and coming into fruition. Well, it could be devolving. I am one of your co-hosts for today's show. I am Eric of the B. Andrews Radio Show. Over on the other side of the room is Emily. Say hi, Emily.
Hello.
And as our producer for today's show, and we have given her a microphone, so this is really superiorly dangerous. Say hello, Kay.
Hi.
Oh, isn't she so cute?
Yeah, no.
Oh, yes. Spoken like a big sister. All right, so the dynamics of today's show have really superiorly changed. Normally, for a little over a year, the dynamic has been two dudes sitting in these chairs.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think you do not know the meaning of that word.
The meaning of what word?
Supremely.
Supremely? Okay.
Keep using that word.
Yes, but the dynamics have supremely changed. So now, instead of this room just being a man cave, testosterone podcast, now we have gone to
Him being outnumbered
by estrogen. Okay, and it's just going to change the tone, I think.
The room is also lightly florally scented.
Oh, thank you very much. Go burn your candle. Okay, yeah.
That would be a beautiful day.
What will be a beautiful day?
The scent.
The scent. Oh, okay, beautiful. Okay, it's already changing right now. So back on to our stratagem, and that is moving along with today's show. So anyway, in today's show, we're going to kind of recap some things. This is post-wedding show. John has gotten married, and he and his bride have gone off into the wild blue yonder somewhere at a unknown location.
Galloping into the sunset.
They did. They got on their trusty steed and went flying off somewhere to which nobody knows where they are. So that can be that's just a dangerous situation there.
Okay, are they galloping off into the sunset, or are they flying into the wild blue yonder?
Can't they do both?
Pegasus.
That's where my brain went. Can it be a unicorn Pegasus?
Oh, you beat me to it.
That's what?
It's an alicorn.
An alicorn. They do not exist.
A unicorn.
Neither does a unicorn.
Is an alicorn. None of them exist technically.
Neither does a unicorn here. Seriously.
Or a Pegasus. So
obviously, you came up with a name, so it exists in somebody's universe. Okay, I just don't read the same things that you do. Anyway, and so we've spent quite a bit of time in North Carolina. And what do you ladies think of North Carolina? I mean, we're from Wisconsin. We have just gotten the snow off of the ground. In fact, when we left, there was still snow in Walmart's parking lot, which there always is. But I've never seen it there in May. So
gone by the time I got back.
Okay. So what do you think of North Carolina as a state?
You go first.
It's friendly.
Friendly. The people have, they got that kind of sound. We went to Fayetteville, and they don't say,
Fayetteville?
Yeah, Fayetteville. That's the way they say it down there. So, it's rather interesting, depending on the different people that you talk to, and lots of hills, lots of mountains. It's like being back down in Kentucky.
Not quite. You don't go through a mountain in Kentucky. Well, I mean, you don't technically do it in North Carolina either. It's from.
Okay,
it's the distance between.
You're talking about the interstate on the way down, and they did. I think it's I-77 that it's on.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and if you've never been over in that part of the country, I-77, as you head down through it, instead of going up and over the mountain, they decided to... Or around. They decided to tunnel through it, and it's pretty long tunnel.
Yeah.
And it cuts you right through the center of the mountain. It's pretty interesting, kind of neat. just big hole in the side of the mountain, and you drive into it. So that's one of the things that happened on the trip down.
We need to find the heart of the mountain.
Don't know.
No. Okay, I take it that's a movie reference.
Well, movie, book, however you want to say the reference, but no. Nay.
All right. Moving right along, ladies. So anyway, so we're down there. I will say cooking changes when you head into North Carolina.
Well, I actually did half the cooking while we were there.
That's a lot of hem-hawing going on. Well,
How to say this without getting numb tongue.
Okay. It happens to people from time to time. But I mean, the different restaurants that you can go out to. We've had some enjoyable food being in North Carolina. I'm trying to think. The time that we went out with Chris and Hannah, they took us to. I think that was a rib place. I can't remember the name of it though. You went there for that? So it was some really tasty food that we had, and that's I'm sorry you missed out on that. Anyway, talking about some of the other food though, you were at you did pizza that I didn't do. Where was that at?
Good. We didn't go actually. He ordered in, and we got Marco's pizza. Chris.
Okay.
My oldest brother. He ordered us in some pizza while we were there because his youngest was just born, so they didn't want to, go anywhere. So he just ordered us in some pizza, and it was really, really good.
Okay,
like
if you're gonna
crust to pizza ratio was like 70%, like toppings and cheese, mostly cheese, and then like 30% crust.
Okay, really I was going to say, you got to quit saying it was really good and tell me why it was really good. Okay.
It was really good.
That is cyclical thinking. Okay, so you said the crust to ratio, was it cheesy?
It was extremely cheesy.
Extremely cheesy. Was it saucy?
No. I mean, it was like a good level. Like, it was there and it was tasty, but it wasn't like making your cheese slide everywhere.
Okay, thin, medium, or thick crust?
Between it's thin to medium, because I wouldn't call it thin crust, because they could do thinner. It was their traditional crust.
Sure. Okay, so
it was more of a medium.
Did the crust come up chewy, that kind of thing? So you really
was a good bread.
Okay, all right, and it stood up obviously to the sauce. It didn't get soggy and all that kind of stuff. Okay, all right. So good pizza. We did at the barbecue place. It was a good sauce. Started off as a dry rub. I wish I could remember the name of the place. Anyway, started off as a dry rub, and then they brought your different sauces out to the table, and so your ma and I we got a sampler on that. So
I want to be careful. I think we're going to start making.
Yeah, we could. So good food while we were down there. One of the things, now that I think about it, one of the things we did not do because didn't have a lot of money to eat out all the time. But one of the things that we didn't do, as I recall, we didn't eat out any breakfast. No. Maybe a lunch or grab a dinner. Definitely spent some time at Starbucks. Got some. That's where I got the first. I never tried it before. I did Starbucks strawberries and cream. Have any of you guys ever done Starbucks strawberries and cream? No. Ooh. A nice thing if you're not going to do, in the summertime when it's hot, or I guess someplace where it's hot, instead of getting hot coffee, which I do in the morning anyway. But if I need to get off of the hot coffee, what is that thing called? The caramel?
The Frappuccino.
Yeah, caramel frap. Okay.
Caramel Frappuccino.
I like caramel frap. But, I was sitting there, I was doing some computer work, and I could feel that I was having a little too much caffeine, and I needed to get off of the caffeine a little bit. So I'm looking at their menu board, and it's like, you know what? I'll just try the strawberries and cream and see how that goes.
So you traded caffeine in for sugar?
Yes. Maybe.
You could just have water, right? They do let you have water.
Starbucks. I'm not ordering water at Starbucks. That's not what I go to a Starbucks for.
You married a nutritionist, Dad.
I
That's not
did.
the best answer to give.
No, they had a water fountain. If I wanted water, I'll go to the water fountain.
That's true.
To my recollection, you have sent me and my cousins and my sister in, and all you ordered was iced water.
I didn't go in. I asked you to bring me out an ice
But
water.
you still ordered it.
Okay,
Still ordered it.
and there's a reason why you got an ice water and I didn't go in. Okay, because if I would have gone into Starbucks, I would have gotten more than an ice water. So I like Starbucks. I really, really like Starbucks, and I have an investment in Starbucks. So anyway, speaking of Starbucks, what are your favorite drinks?
The caramel frap or the chai tea latte.
Okay, so you do tea. And
yeah, I don't do coffee really.
yeah, but the caramel frap's a coffee.
Yeah, but it's like so sweet.
All I ordered was a caramel frappuccino, and I gave it to her to try.
Did you say frapper? A caramel frappuccino? I want one of those.
Frapper.
My point is, I got her hooked.
Okay.
It's a free wrapper.
I see. So you're responsible for her.
And the only other thing I order is a steamer, which is my personal favorite, which you can blame John for.
What is this hot milk?
Yeah, for real.
And
let us put some hot milk and put it through that thing. And then pour some caramel in it.
Actually, no, it's hazelnut.
And charge you $10. Yeah, you know why I know it's $10? Because I'm usually the one buying.
First of all, it's hazelnut. Excuse you. And plus, there's like 2 cups of sugar in it. So.
Oh, hey,
So it's
let's
like
put
sugar
it.
and milk.
Well, yeah, hey, let's put this milk through the. What is that machine called anyway? The
Espresso machine?
espresso machine, the steamer. Let's put the milk through the steamer. Here, let's add a cup of sugar. Here, let's add caramel for flavor. What? Oh, excuse me. Hazelnut for flavor.
There you go.
A plus for sound effects.
Thank you. And then what do you do with it?
I digest it.
Yeah, look, Dad, it's all gone. Yeah. Can I have another?
No.
Yeah.
Savor the flavor.
For real, man. Just sip that. Take some time. I mean, just.
Sip that. Sip that.
I have to. It burns my tongue.
Yeah, right. So anyway, yeah, and I will say this: it's rather interesting going to. We stayed near and around my oldest, who is Chris, and he is at Fort Bragg. Hey, everybody, Fort Bragg! Shout out! Hoorah! There you go. And you were real silent on that. No shout out to the dudes on Fort Bragg.
I had no idea what to say.
Anyway,
I saw, regardless of what Dad says, I already knew what I was saying.
that's
Like,
right.
just pick
Yeah,
one and go.
let's try it again. All of the guys in Fort Bragg, you ready? Hoorah! Okay, there you go. And you were still silent.
No, her and her voices.
And you write. Oh, this is good.
Yes, but my writing's better. It's my mouth that's the problem. My fingers are usually fine.
No, it's your face.
My fingers are fine. Okay.
Our voices blend together. It makes it harder to
Gotcha.
hear us
Okay.
distinctively.
Anyway, the guys at Fort Bragg, it's a really nice experience to go to a Starbucks at Fort Bragg. You go to a regular Starbucks, and everybody at a regular Starbucks, they're so preppy. They come walking in with all their preppy stuff, and they got their little computers and they got their little devices. Yes.
The word you're looking for is a hipster.
Oh, preppy isn't in anymore, huh?
No, preppy isn't the term anymore. It's something else completely.
Oh.
Hipster's its own thing.
Okay.
Like it kind of went off from preppy, and like the punks and the preps had kids, and they're called hipsters.
Okay. All right. So anyway, so you got these hipsters that come walking in, and they got all their devices, and they all sit down, and they're all pretty snooty because they try to get their own little spaces unless they came in with a person of their choosing. So they don't want to associate with anybody else around them. And they sit and they isolate themselves, and they're sitting with this other person, but they're talking on their devices. You know, I don't get that. And they're probably talking to the person sitting right across from them, too. That's the thing that gets me. But they got their devices and they all lightly sip on whatever it is that they've gotten, and they take like a half an hour and 45 minutes. And it cracks me up. You go to Fort Bragg. And it's all these Army dudes that come walking in. You know, it's like, yeah, I'd like to have this. Thank you very much. And they grab it, make it up, and they go. And it's just like, right, man, this is just really cool. Get her done. Yeah. So shout out to the guys at Fort Bragg. So, Chris, tell them that, hey, Fort Bragg is on the B. Andrews radio show. Got a little bit more to talk about here at our special post-wedding show. So go and refill your cup and come back, and we'll talk more on the B. Andrews radio show.
This show has been pre-recorded because B. Andrews is on the road.
Just sitting here and enjoying the shade. How you been feeling? I've been feeling good.
Sitting here, thinking about all of the good things and the things that are fresh and new. Oh yeah. I just want to take some time and say thank you, 'cause I know that all of the good things come from you. So here we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
My Jesus, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the good things in my life.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah. Thank you,
Thank you.
my Jesus, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the good things in my life.
Oh, you know that's true. Just want to thank
Welcome
you.
back to the second part of our B. Andrews radio show, our special extravaganza that's happening here. Extravaganza that's happening here today. Thank you. Today's show, I am doing standing up because my tailbone is getting tired. I've been doing an awful lot of sitting, so not that everybody needed to know that, but I
You've
just
been exercising your butt.
I have been, and I just felt the need to express that here so that everybody knows that I'm standing while doing today's show. Which,
Still standing.
thank you. Copyrights. Watch out. Don't
Special
go too far.
achievement. He's standing up.
Thank you.
This is sitting.
This is
standing.
Yes, and today we are doing standing up school. And you failed. Yes. You got. I'm sorry. We're quoting something. You'll have to go see it. So anyway, we were talking last time about being in North Carolina, and I just wanted to finish up with this because we had this nice, wonderful experience. Which, by the way, you know, we have a person who has the cute factor. And she's totally has the cute factor. You hear her on the radio. She's currently our producer, but that's Kay, and we use her on a lot of lead-ins because, hey, her cute factor is just off the scale. When you listen to her voice, go ahead, say something. Everybody don't know what I'm talking about.
Hi there.
See what I mean? Listen to that. It's just cute factor.
You should have approached the microphone like Darth Vader going, "Oh yeah, you're fun."
Well, do you know how weird that would have sounded approaching the microphone like, wait. Hi! Just, you know.
I am your father.
It just doesn't work.
Comes walking down the Imperial March. Bum, bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, ba, da, ba, dum, bum.
Yeah. And everybody just goes, "Aww." Yeah, you know. And so anyway, we are recording. Would you like to, join us again at some point in time? That's
You just wait for her to stop being pink.
whatever. She's having fun over there. She's a single person's party going on right now.
She's having a me party.
Woohoo! So anyway, watch the copyrights. So anyway, No, it's just serious. Let me just explain to everybody. It happened. So she goes down to the library. Okay. This is her own story. This is what she tells me. She goes down to the library, and one of the little kids, now, here in Hancock, we are such a metropolis here in this town of 300. Everybody knows everybody.
That's stretching it.
Yeah, it is. And so she's down at the library. She's a homeschooler, so she's doing some work down at the library. And while she's in, some neighbor kids come in, and you say he's 3. Are you sure he's 3? He's not 4?
His mom said he was 3.
Okay, so it's official. So he's 3, and by your own admission, when he came in, what did you say he said to you?
That I am his girlfriend.
You are so lovely. The 3-year-old's just you're so cute. Even a 3-year-old picks it out.
She's a babe magnet.
Woo! And by the time he left the library, you guys were
Dating?
I
guess. I don't know.
He said she was hot.
Oh, that's it. And I guarantee you, a 3-year-old knows what hot is.
No
Abby
comment.
does. Abby does.
Yeah.
Hot.
See something
And
red.
she's only 2.
Yeah, I know.
So, by the way, you need to tell him that you have a dad and that he will come and get him. So.
I barely see the kid, and before he never talks to me, and apparently I'm his girlfriend now. So, I don't know.
All I can tell you, you got to watch out. He can really stalk you, okay? You never know about 3-year-old stalkers. Got to be careful.
Man, I'm sure glad I got a dad with a trunk monkey.
The dating edition, too, of the trunk monkey. Yeah. So, in case y'all don't know what that is, you'll have to go look that up. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to follow through because of the cute factor in Kay. So, we're in Starbucks, and she just reminded me of the story. I forgot all about it. So, we're in Starbucks, and I'm doing some computer work so that I can get some free networking. And the little one has come along, and so we kind of need to get out of the house so new mama, baby, and all that can have their time. And so, doing computer work up at Starbucks because internet is free, and Kay is with me, and she goes and she orders a drink. Now, there's this sweetheart of a lady that is working behind the counter, and being down there as long as we were, we actually started making friends with her because we saw her on a couple of different mornings. Hey, y'all are back. Hey, it's good to have you. Come on in. What you want? What you order? All that kind of stuff. And so I'm sitting down and I'm working, and Kay goes and gets her steamer. It wasn't a steamer?
It was a frap.
So
It was a frapper.
She got her caramel frapper. Okay. And what size did you order?
I ordered a tall, and the only reason I did was because we were getting ready to leave, and Dad's like, we don't want you to drink that much because we kind of want to make it quite a while before we have to stop for the bathroom
You
again.
don't need to be sitting in a vehicle for that long of time
With a full bladder.
with that much sugar. Who cares about the bladder? I don't want you sitting on that much sugar for that long, because then you start doing crazy things in the back seat.
I care about my bladder, excuse you.
She doesn't need sugar to do crazy things.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So anyway, so she orders what at Starbucks the
Tall.
A tall is technically
a tall is a small.
Yeah.
Oh wow, gotta love that. A tall is a small.
It's a mental thing.
Okay, and do you want to finish the story? I mean, you're more than welcome to, and say it like Binky does.
Oh, no. I'm not going to say it like that. No. She was just awesome. Let's put it that way. Well, since Dad was on his computer and I didn't have my tablet with me, I'm just sitting in the Starbucks alone and just doing nothing at all.
You're more than welcome to do something.
Yeah, I'm just going to go over here and stalk this random military dude. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Poke him in the bicep. How big are your muscles?
Cute Factor could totally get by with this. Anyway, so Cute Factor's sitting there.
Well, the Suburban comes up, and we have to go. And so I my drink is getting ordered and Dad's packing up. This very, very nice lady comes over and she's like, "Oh, honey, you've been sitting there and you've just been patient and so kind and you just so behaved." And she hands me this drink, and turns out it got upgraded from a tall, not to a grande, but to a venti.
Which is going from technically a small to a large.
To a large, yeah.
Very large.
There you go.
Very large.
All right. And so now we still have bladder problems? Is that the moral of the story?
No, the moral of the story is Mom started freaking out and got after Dad. Why did you let her get that big of a
that's
drink?
true. I did. I got in trouble.
It wasn't me.
I didn't even know she got it. What are you talking about? Yeah.
You gave me the money for it.
So now you shall forever be known as the cute factor. Whenever we refer to her, the cute factor is speaking. Oh, that's the cute factor.
You could just call her the cute.
Behold my presence.
Oh. There's no living with this now. Okay, the cute factor has spoken.
Diminished.
You have started this, so I'm just going to carry through with it.
All right,
She's
all
not
right.
cute when you live with her.
So another. Woo! Moving right along. No. We have no comment to that. Moving right along, one of the other things, and I just want to get this in really quick before I move on to what I really want to talk about, because of having two teenage girls here. But let me wrap up the Carolina thing really quick, and that is we had this wonderful opportunity to go to Carver's State Park. And at Carver's State Park, Carver's Creek, let me say it right. At Carver's Creek State Park, one of the Rockefeller mansions is still there. It's all wood. Actually, there's a couple of buildings that go along with it, and it's all wood, and they are currently working on renovating it. It's not an incredibly huge house because not very far from in the same region. You have the Biltmore mansion that is there, a very famous mansion that is there. And I believe that is open to the public. I believe there is a restaurant. I think you can even stay at the Biltmore. Didn't look that up or check it out. But it is really on the high end. If you want to go see something, if you like history, check out the Biltmore. But at Carver's Creek State Park, there is a Rockefeller's mansion that is there from the Rockefeller family. It's been donated to the state, and they've turned the area into a state park. And it was really beautiful. But I also enjoyed the hike that it took to actually get back to where the mansion was. There isn't a main road that actually goes back there. It's more or less kind of like a horse trail. But they've put stuff down, gravel and so forth to go over it. I'm not sure it's big enough for a car. Do you think it was big enough for a car to drive on?
It was at least big enough for a buggy. At least.
Okay, but the house is old, and it does go back to the horse and buggy days, which are a little smaller than vehicles, and so
like a toy car.
Yeah,
Those like hybrids.
Four-wheelers, because the park rangers used four-wheelers to get down on. Yeah. To go down the trails.
Get back up again.
Yeah, there you go. So I know that big enough for four-wheelers, but yeah, and the hike was nice and very educational. They had placards, all-weather placards. They were in aluminum that was out and marking plants and species and animals, and it was all good until they started going on 100,000 years ago. Do you know what used to be here? No, because there wasn't anybody here 100,000 years ago. But anyway.
Well, I mean, even if there was 100,000 years ago.
Yes, because that is absolutely debatable if there was even 100,000 years ago. So,
off of that theory, it was very, very nice and shaded, which was really nice on the walk down there in the forest until we got to the water part, aka mosquitoes. Oh, yeah.
The bog, river.
And they had
Marsh.
flooding, which is something that you guys also remarked about. We haven't gone to North Carolina once yet without there being an exorbitant amount of
rain.
Yeah.
Well, it rained when me and Mom and Grandma left. Like, it was okay there. When we got in, it was all sunny. The second day, it was really cloudy. And then the third day, it rained. while we were trying to leave. It was awful.
I have not been there enough times to really have a good, accurate representation of it, because every single time I've been there, it has been hot, sticky, humid, with plenty of rain. So
And they've had tons of flooding going on there. In fact, Christopher has lost his vehicle. It got flooded out while he was there in at Fort Bragg. So, and maybe if his driving was a little better, maybe he wouldn't have lost his vehicle to the flood. Which brings me to the idea
Not the Halo flood.
a teenage, not that flood. Which brings me to the idea of teenage girls driving. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Plus, we've got a little good news. So we're going to take a break right here, and at that point, get yourself something to drink and come on back.
Just have to praise him when things aren't right. When your cares and worries are crowding around, try lifting him up when life gets you down. Well, I know you've been there, I've been there too. So you might as well admit that it gets to you. So when this old world is taking its toll, remember God prepaid, you're free to go. So here we go.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of this special edition of the B. Andrews Radio Show post-wedding edition. It's so good to have you along. And by the way, just as a very quick reminder, be our friend at B. Andrews. That's B-E, first name, last name, Andrews, A-N-D-R-E-W-S. Be our friend there and go and become a member of the group, the B. Andrews Radio Group. And when we have a new show that comes up, we'll post it in there. And when we do, you'll get a notification that a new show has been posted. Or subscribe to the B. Andrews YouTube channel. When you go to YouTube, subscribe, and then you tell me they got to do one other thing.
Hit the bell button next to the subscribe button.
Okay, so subscribe to B. Andrews channel, and then hit the bell, and then whenever we upload anything onto the B. Andrews channel, then you will be notified. So that way you'll know when all the new episodes are coming up. So I got something going on. I'm standing here. I am looking my two daughters in the eye across the microphone. Yes.
that is very impressive.
I know, like one's on one daughter and the other one's on the other one. Are you a chameleon by any chance?
Okay, look me in the eye. Okay.
No.
So anyway, no, I am not a chameleon.
Come.
Copyright. So anyway, I want to know about this driving thing. I don't have either one of you driving yet. You're too young still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Ebony, you're
too young, but you're right on the precipice. Can I say that again? You're right on the precipice of being able to drive. We do have the de-esser on, don't we? You don't even know what that is. Okay.
You don't even know what this is.
That's a setting, so when you go S, it doesn't splurp on the microphone. Anyway, so but I have been after you.
You.
I am pointing.
No, not you.
You. I am pointing right at Emily. I have been after you for over a year now to start driving. So I want to know, with all why the other people out there are like, oh, I want to drive. And I can't get you behind the wheel of a vehicle. What is the impairment? What is the problem? Yes.
Christopher Hambrock.
Whoa.
No. There's a whole story behind this.
Seriously, you're
gonna
blame your brother for keeping you from driving?
We were on a 4-lane highway in Missouri, driving back up to Wisconsin while I was staying with him while he was still stationed in San Angelo, Texas. I was 14 at the time. He goes, "Here, give me your hand." And this was the second time he did this. The first time was at
Are you
midnight,
confessing to a crime on radio?
Hang on. On a dark road at midnight in Texas, there was nobody else on the road. He did the same thing, and I held the car steady for him while he turned around to get something out of the back of the car. He did the same thing on a 4-lane highway in Missouri while we were going through one of the major cities, and he goes, "Here, take this." I refused. I'm like, we are surrounded by cars winging in past us and all around us. I'm not going to take... Do I look like I'm in the driver's seat to you? No, I'm in the passenger seat, which means I am a passenger. You're in the driver's seat. You drive.
Are you telling me, and from that experience, you are so scarred for life that you do not...
Not scarred, just terrified and terribly self-conscious about driving.
The level of angst she has against this, she literally took her hand while sitting in a chair and leaned it up against the wall, and her hand on her hip.
Okay, that means something?
Posturing is everything. It really tells you a lot about a person's body language, and I got really sassy a second ago.
So are you telling me that the head swayed and the hip kind of shook and, we got that kind of thing? Okay. So this is going to impair you for the rest of your life. You are scarred. You are not going to drive.
Well, I have to, so I guess I'll just have to get over it.
Thank you very much on national radio. I appreciate that so much. And with that admission, it is time for some good news.
Well, it's time for a little good news. And let the sun shine through for me and you with some good news.
Our good news segment today is from Fox News on MSM.com. Grandma Cuddler sues NICU babies at New York hospital. Joan Hart is a grandma cuddler at the NICU at New York Presbyterian Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital. A woman dubbed Grandma Cuddler isn't your typical volunteer in the neonatal intensive care unit at the New York Presbyterian Morgan Stanley. That is a mouthful. At the hospital. Shut up. Joan Hart is 81 and is a cuddler and soothes babies in the NICU by patting them on the back, holding their tiny hands, using a pacifier, or just swaddling them. At times, she holds them with help from the nurses. When I hold them, sometimes I hum or sing tunes like "You Are My Sunshine" or Frank Sinatra's love songs. Or I talk to them. I tell them, you have to eat and sleep so you can get big and strong. I talk to them about their future, and I say, you think a pacifier's good? Wait till you see ice cream or lollipops or even pancakes, she told Health Matters. Hart said she's always been a wannabe nurse, and many of her family members are nurses. She added that she's had a passion for volunteering in hospitals and working with children. Hart retired from her job as a senior staff administrator at IBM and joined the Cuddler program in 2011 after volunteering at the hospital for 2 years. She became their first cuddler. The words weren't out of her mouth when I said, "Of course I would. Who wouldn't?" The rest is history, Hart said. Hart said she falls in love with the NICU babies every week and will volunteer 6 or 7 hours a week to help them. A cuddler is expected to volunteer 4 hours a week. I fall in love every week, she said. The minute you hold them and look into their sweet faces, you connect instantly. Each one has its own way in my heart. Joanna, whose son is in the NICU, called Hart a grandmother to her son after she helped soothe her newborn. She showed him love and support when I couldn't be here. She has such an amazing heart. You can see she's selfless and has such love and compassion. I'm so thankful for her.
All right. And by the way, it was a little confusing. How do you get on MSN.com and then still be on Fox?
Fox News.
Fox News.
I have no
but
idea.
It's not MSNBC. It's MSN.
It's an MSN.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then it's a Fox News article.
By the way, and I have to tell you this, that one of the most heart-wrenching volunteer programs is the volunteer grandmothers program that she is involved with, or they called it a Cuddlers program.
Yeah, Grandma Cuddlers.
Grandma Cuddlers program. And see, now John, who is not with us anymore, well, I mean, he's not with us in this program.
Can't be with us anymore.
Yeah, he's with us. He's just
He's with us in spirit.
That's
he's
right.
He's in a better place.
Well, he's in another state
of mind.
Yes,
of being.
Not another state
New
of
York
being.
state of mind.
He will be in a New York state of mind. That
You
is
took
true.
it right out of my mouth.
There you go.
You can
Anyway,
have it back.
must have been while you were kissed. No. Anyway, so when John was born, of course, he and Ben being twins, John still had amniotic fluid down in his lungs that they weren't able to get out of him, and he wasn't able to get out of the amniotic fluid, and well, that's exactly what he did. He came out crying, and he and took it back down in.
Gave birth to a monkey.
It is not what he did. Consequently, John ended up spending a week in neonatal intensive care, which is also known as NICU, NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, and I can remember it. I can remember it back then.
I'll nick you.
Listen, you're interrupting the story. People are really into this. Okay, and so and so we had to your mom. They sent her home with one of the twins, and we had to leave one in the hospital. That's heart-wrenching for any mom. And as the one lady in the article said, you were a grandparent to my son. But for us, it was my mom happened to work at the same hospital. My dad happened to work at a hospital across town, and Grandma Welker would come in when she could. And so John was around the clock, had family, and then I would stop in the evenings, and your mom would come in and try to feed and nurse and do those kinds of things. And you'll never, I can't begin to tell you how it kind of, at first, it just really got under my skin because it made me feel like a bad parent. I went in, and there is some other lady holding my son because she was a part of the grandmother program, volunteer grandma program. And she's sitting there with John, and she's rocking him. And I was kind of indignant. I'm like, hey, you don't, there's other kids. You don't need to be having him. And there were times that I would knock off from lunch. It was a whole week long. I would knock off from lunch. I was a painting contractor at the time, and I'd go running in, and I would find my mom up there because she worked at the hospital, and she would take her lunch break, and she would go up, and she would be rocking John and taking care of John, and I would wait. She could have that whole time on her break doing it, and I would wait, and then I would wait for John, and then about an hour or so later, your mom would come in with her mom, and they would take time through the evening, and so John had round-the-clock care from us.
It sounds like this little baby's a hot commodity.
Yeah, well, I didn't want John feeling that his family wasn't with him, even though we there was a few hours that we had to be separated from him. But I will tell you that it was the most heart-wrenching thing because there were abandoned children that were there. And these grandmas would come in, and even though I got indignant, you're holding my baby, but all of a sudden I saw these other babies, and these ladies would come in so selflessly, and they would come in and they would just make their rounds, and they would take their time handling these little guys that had been left by mothers.
Yeah, but I understand what you mean, though. It's like you didn't necessarily need to hold John because John had people coming in for him when there were other babies that, you know, if you're here on volunteer time, then you need to spend time with someone who really needs it.
Right. And all of a sudden you watch these ladies just out of the goodness of their heart bonding with these little guys. And it is probably along with the ladies that work over at the burn unit and watch little children that have come in burned. One of the most heart-wrenching jobs is to be a grandma and pick up these little guys that have been abandoned by a mother and just love on them. And so when she talks about singing with them and doing all that kinds of stuff, that's precious. And I challenge anybody out there. I'm not sure if any of our hospitals around here have that kind of a program, but if you've got a big enough heart to do it, go be a volunteer grandma at a hospital, or what did they call them again here?
Cuddlers.
Grandma cuddlers. Grandma cuddlers. Go be a part of that. And you know, just the idea.
Grandpa cuddlers too.
They probably could. It's usually grandmas. But that being, and we're wrapping our show up right now. And let me just remind you, hey, if you can go and give of yourself to your community in some way, shape, or form, do it. Especially when it comes to kids, because you know what? It will and can make a difference in a life. Well, that's it for today's show, our special post-wedding edition of the B. Andrews Radio Show. Come back next Tuesday, spend some time with us when we'll pick up a new subject then. I'm glad that you're here, and we'll see you next Tuesday. See you, everybody.